Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Japanese Shabaru podcast. We're gonna kick things off with Sakamoto Days, episode 13. So in this one, where it kicks off right with a nice little flashback to Shin and the rest of the group talking to Lu and Wu Tang, I believe is his name, and he basically was telling them about how you can subconsciously think of something you're about to do, and in that way Shin could upgrade his psychic abilities, whereas like it'll be almost as if he's telling the future, because he'll be able to read what they're subconsciously thinking of doing before they even do it. So that is essentially giving us an explanation as to how Shin was able to do what he was doing last episode. But then afterwards we get a nice cut back to Shin fighting the guy, and it turned out that Shin can't hold this ability for very long, as he starts kind of getting some side effects afterwards, getting weak, and the guy almost catches him lacking. And if it's not for Lu that saves him, he would end up being mincemeat then and there. But turns out there's like different modes that Lu can go into while being drunk. So the one that she got into this time was like a mafia boss type of drunk. So like she thought she was all ruthless and calculated and very aggressive, to say the least, as she was able to dig into the guy's like forearm with a shovel. Very kind of crazy. The guy even started rethinking his life, like, oh shit, I might actually have to die here. And that's not something he was like, I don't want to do this. And it's very terrifying as he's trying to get away, and Lewis throwing things at him, and Shin is able to use that confusion that the guy has to hit him with the ladder, same at the same time that Lewis also strikes him down. And yeah, I'm very happy. This was a nice win for both Shin and Lu, and even though they kind of like both pass out, Shin for overusing his psychic abilities and Lu for the hangovers and the drunkenness, they wake up and they find these cleaners of sorts, right? I think they call them like floaters. So the floaters are essentially like people that are trying to get into the assassination business, and their job is to clean up after the actual pros. So these are like part-time workers, and it's a really interesting that I little tidbit I forgot about Sakamoto and Moto Days, and how they have these kind of like your background characters that make sure that everything you do as part of your assassin gig basically leaves no trace. So really nice to find out what happens in that aspect of the world. And then we have Osaragi with um, the blonde guy, I forget his name, Chishiba, I think is his name. Uh, and they're kind of like having dinner, and Osaragi this gets a call from Nagumo that he found some of the inmates that escaped, and he wants them to meet him there, or not. It really depends. He's just trying to like pull their legs. Like Nagumo is all about being playful and playing them up. So he she ends up going, and she starts this prayer in this shrine, and she meets I believe her name is Dump, who is one of the inmates that likes to skewer people. Like she has pointy objects coming out of her palms and several other places. And Osaragi's like, well, I should be thankful that my wish was granted by the gods so quickly. So they get to scrapping, and I love that Osaragi was beating her up by trying to do all the things from that you would do in a prayer. So like making her bow, making sure she hits like concrete or wood, make sure she and clapping to pray. So she claps her face in between her palms, and it was a pretty interesting fight. Like I gotta say, like a lot of the ladies really showed up in this episode for Sakamoto, And as they get to fighting, we learn a little bit more about Dump and how she was growing up, how she always had this this feeling of love and this feeling of not feeling good enough for the other person to only think of them. So like what ended up happening was like she would take that one-sided love and crush or destroy or screw her the other person that she loved. Like if she couldn't have him, then nobody would, kind of type of thing. But it also felt like a bit shallow to her that this is what it came down to, because she really just wanted somebody to love her the way that she loves everybody. But neither here or there. Her and Osaragi are getting into this amazing fight, and Osaragi really was not even using her main weapon at first. She was just barehanding things, being able to predict her movements, and then when she actually brought out her heavy artillery weapon, we find out that it's actually quite heavy, as the entire briefcase kind of like shapeshifts into a saw, and that's what she used to take down Dump, but not before having Dump realize that Osaragi was kind of like beautiful right before taking her down, almost like she had finally found somebody that understood her type of love in a sense, and I guess that in doing so, like it set her free, and Saragi managed to end her then and there. Then we have the other people that brought out all the inmates essentially. Kashima and Slur or X are kind of talking over the phone, and Kashima, the reindeer guy, kind of gets interrupted by the guy called Apart, the one that likes to separate people into pieces, and pretty much the the Kashima was trying to tell like Slur like, hey, they've done their job. We can probably move on to the next phase of the plan, which the seemingly the main reason why they released those inmates was to keep the order busy enough for them to go and do something else. So it's a really they figured it wouldn't be a big enough diversion to stop the order, but at least it'll give them enough time to do what they needed to do wherever it is that they're doing. But Apart wants no part of that. He feels what Apart really likes to do is to really get it to know people before slicing them to pieces. So like when he was like, "Oh well, what you guys are doing are not really helping me understand you better," so he slices up the reindeer or Kashima, and Slur pretty much lets him know like, it's okay. Listen, let him go free. He might be a bit too much for Sakamoto and the gang, but it's fine. The more they're focused on getting to Sakamoto and taking care of them, the better it will be for us in the long run. And right before the episode ends, we get to see the guy that like puts people into mincemeat, like grinds them into balls, kind of like goes into the Sakamoto Days and finds the wife there, which I'm I don't think I want to spoil what happens next. It's like who comes to save the wife or anything like that, but I gotta say it's gotta be pretty scary that all of a sudden you're in the store and you have a random ass tall guy just staring down at you with some intent for other stuff. And then we get like a little mini kind of like Sakamoto Days Off kind of thing, where it's like Sakamoto and the group are are doing the watermelon challenge, and Shin and Lu try to be funny and uh, play a prank on him, but it didn't work because Sakamoto can actually sniff out the watermelon, and it just ends up scaring Shin near death as Sakamoto takes out the knife and cuts the watermelons into pieces. But oh yeah, and I failed to mention the guy that Lu and Shin kind of took over. He ended up meeting his Santu with an order member as well. So seemingly the order members are here and they're not playing. You can tell that there's a reason why a lot of them are like A or S rank bounties on them. So really great stuff from Sakamoto. If I have to say anything, it's that negative about it is just that it's still, at times, it feels like a PowerPoint presentation with just some really great impact frames to kind of cut corners of how fluid the animation is supposed to look like, which I would prefer if it was like actually flowing animation. But other than that, I'm really enjoying the story, really enjoying how they're adapting it. The colors are beautiful, the characters are lovable, voice actors are killing it, and yeah, I can't wait for more Sakamoto's. I think I'm rating this episode a 9 out of 10.